I trust that we are live. I'm waiting to have that confirmed. I think that we are. Excellent. Yes, we're here. We are here. Thank you so much for the opportunity to sit before you this evening and to engage you on quite an interesting matter and hopefully a few others. We, as Guyanese, must be always cognizant, always aware, always alert to things that pertain to our well-being in every facet of society. This evening, I would like to take some time. As you can see, we're speaking to the matter of education, and I've said that would lend us to speaking to others. But as long as you can hear clearly and you can see clearly, I appreciate that. I think that it's okay. To those of you who are joining us via 107.1 FM, thank you so much for tuning in, for having your radios dialed into this station. Somebody say volume is low. I hope that you can hear me better now. I can project my voice for as loudly as you want me to, but I hope that you can hear pretty well. So once we get everything settled technically, I would be more than happy, more than delighted to interact with you this evening, especially parents with children in schools. You need to hear this broadcast, especially Guyanese across the nation. And this is not a slight or an attack on Priya Manik-Chand per se, but this broadcast will speak to what is of interest or should be of interest to all Guyanese. Now, something has transpired, and I would like this evening, since I have the opportunity here, to speak to what should be beneficial to all of us. My actions, as they call it, activism, are directed towards the upliftment of all Guyanese. All of us should benefit from that which pertains to matters in this country of interest or things or benefits and services. We should have the best of it all. Why? Because we have got the right to enjoy the best of it all. There is no way that Guyanese are supposed to sit back to say that because we are considered to be of a particular bracket in people's minds, we do not have the right to the best. That has to be shredded. It has to be dispelled from our mentality, from our psyche. And we must be prepared to think or to demand better. It is all right. Our children should, of more than anyone else, the young ones in this nation must always know from our lips and through our actions that they are the future of this nation, not just by words, but by how we treat them. So in this regard, I shall raise for you certain matters that pertain to education, and hopefully the person who serves at this time as the minister in that area, that being Priya Manik-Chand, it is my hope that she would, as it would be expected, pay careful attention to what I'm saying and not see it as an attack. I would say this without reservation, and I would say this as a necessary caveat. I have no personal issue with any politician in this country. Why? Because I don't know them personally. Some of them I may know personally, but not at that level. Secondly, I do not care to know them personally. Therefore, whenever you hear me speaking to a matter that involves Guyanese, it's not because I have some personal gripe with one of you. It is because it is my humble view that you deserve, since you're being paid to do so, you deserve to serve the people of this nation with utmost respect. That's all I say to you. Now, if you do the things that you should, and you do the things that are expected of you, then I have nothing to say. It is quite easy to silence me in Guyana society, which is all you have to do is to do that which you should. Do that which you're being paid these hefty sums of money to. That's all. How difficult is that? You simply fulfill your responsibilities. You function in a manner that is excellent and proper, and I have nothing to say but compliments to offer. But if there's going to be any lackluster and substandard services rendered to Guyanese people, especially our children, you are going to hear from me for as long as it takes. Now, from the onset, let me just inform you that I have served in the capacity of, and I'm saying this because people need to know from which position I speak. This is important. This is necessary. This is not a boast in myself, and it's just unfortunate that I have to say that on 107.1 FM and on this show, the Straight Up show. But I must say this to you all. This is not a boast about me. It is an information giving scenario so that when I speak to you, you can understand the premise from which I do. Madam Manik Chand, I know that you know of my background. Because if I'm not mistaken, no, it was Dale Bisnott. I served under Dale Bisnott when I was an education supervisor in the Secondary School Reform Project. So I may not have had interactions with you. However, I'm sure that you can see in certain textbooks and so on and curriculum guides when they were there, if they still are, you could see that I would have been a person involved in the delivery of science, the science curriculum to the nation. You would have seen that I served not just as a curriculum, instruction, material assessment team member. It's called the CIMAT team. There was a World Bank funded project, and I was a part of it, one of the youngest to ever serve in that capacity as a science subject specialist. I helped to write the national science curriculum. I helped because they asked of us to help all the way up to CXC at that time. We wrote curriculum guides for all teachers. We also took the time under the guidance of Dr. Hunt to write what are called teacher's guides, where we, for science and other subjects, the core subjects they were called, we produced teaching lesson plans, 2 per topic. So on any given day, the teacher can have 2 options as to how they're going to deliver the science curriculum to our children. We equipped schools through World Bank funding with laboratories and so on. There was a plan afoot whereby we were going to say or prove that Queen's College is not necessarily possessing, and don't get upset, but at that time we were proving that Queen's College is not the best because they have the best students necessarily. But we wanted to prove that with equal opportunities, our children in some of the community schools and these levels, they can perform equally as good as the Queen's College students could. And through that project where we built laboratories, we supervised the building of them, I should say, and we were instrumental in developing schools and reforming them, hence the name Secondary School Reform Project. I remember one year when a child from Dolphin Secondary School topped the country in the grade 9 science examination, beat Queen's College, and they never ever did it again. I want you to hear me. I remembered when we gave Dolphin Secondary all the equipment they needed just about. We trained the teachers as to how they should teach science. We helped them in curriculum delivery. We trained them as to how they can deliver the curriculum. A student from Dolphin Secondary School, yes, that same Dolphin Secondary School, topped Guyana in the National Grade 9 Science Examination. I also served as the chief examiner in one year, and then I served as an assistant chief, first of all, then the chief examiner. Then I left the country thereafter. So additionally, Madam Manik Chand and others, I would have been fortunate to discover some glaring errors in our Science and Daily Life Book 3 text, because we're book 1, 2, and 3, books 1, 2, and 3. And it was about to be printed. I raised the issue when I was working. I was in secondary school reform project house at NSERD. And I said to them that this should not be sent to our children. There's no way that you can have any material of this nature published in our schools or sent to our schools while being published, after being published. That is wrong. And I can recall some person saying that a lot of money was already spent. There's no way you can do this. It's the minister would be mad, and the CEO then, Ed Caesar, wouldn't like it. And I said, I don't mind who would be mad. You cannot have things like a trumpet when we're teaching sound being called a saxophone. And there were some other just ridiculous errors in this book that was about to be published. It got to Ed Caesar, and as I said on my Facebook page, he said, there's no way this book should be published. I was in vacation. I remember Ed Caesar called me from vacation to say that the nation's children need you, Mr. London. So what you shall do is you shall commit 1 week of your vacation time to editing this textbook before it's published. And myself and another person had the task to content edit that Science in Daily Life, grade book 9 text. Why did I say all of that? Because now I'm speaking about this Ministry of Education website nonsense. I'm not talking to you as just a guy who has something to say or who wants to say something. This is my field. We have children in our country who are trained to have confidence in curriculum materials, textbooks especially. And if we've got children who've got confidence in textbooks, and we have many teachers, unfortunately so, who believe that whatever the textbook presents to them is accurate. We therefore, Madam Manikchand, and all of you in education, should take note of that. You should take note of the fact that you should not have published on your website for the whole world to see. You should not have such glaring and ridiculous errors in any material, because people are being paid with our money to have these things on display. And our teachers and children are being told to go to the website because it's, you claim to be advanced in your technology and advanced in your delivery. And Priya will get up in Parliament and other places and speak to how effective she is and those around her are in reference to how they are functioning in education delivery. Are you effective when something as simple as a multiple of 3 cannot be sorted out on your web page? When did 16 ever become a multiple of 3? Now, I'm not good at mathematics, as people would think, but as some of you would want to boast that you are. I never boasted to be as good at math as some of you are. Fine, no problem. But what I do know is that 16 can never function in that manner. Additionally, we have this before you on the screen right here, where on the website, it was only removed this week when I raised this matter right here. This is social studies. This was on the Ministry of Education.gov.gy website. That was the link, education.gov.gy. And you see it speaks to, circled in red, the East Indians came from India, Portuguese came from Madeira, Amerindians came from Asia, and they should be indigenous people of the Amerindians. But look at what is encircled. The blacks came from West Africa. Now, permit me, please, my brothers and sisters, enemies and friends, to address this matter. So you can see on the top right of this picture, it says, I am an or a, and it should be Afro-Guyanese or that's what it should be, Indo-Guyanese. So in this case, a child of African descent is supposed to say, I'm a black Guyanese. Now, what irked me the most is that the Ministry of Education found a way, after I published this, the minister, I should say, the one who serves as Minister, Priya Manikchand, to say that she doesn't know why I approached this matter the way I did, which is to say that how can you talk about one Guyana and you have this content on the government's website, on the Ministry of Education's website? How could this be? As parents, I'm not speaking to African, I'm not speaking to Indian, I'm not speaking to Chinese, I'm speaking to Guyanese parents. You should be extremely concerned about what content is available on the education website. This has peeved me. It angered me to know that this passed so many eyes, and the most damning thing that Education Ministry could have done was to suggest that it was there for 20 years or decades, they said. Decades, they claimed. So hold on. For decades, nobody saw that Amerindians were addressed based on where they came from. Portuguese were addressed based on the nation of origin or the place of origin. East Indians were addressed based on where they came from. Chinese, obviously, were addressed based on where they came from. But West Africans, or those who came through West Africa, because all didn't come from West Africa, the Africans were so special that they could have been addressed as blacks. And that is not an issue. So for decades, that happened, according to what Priya Manikchand said. And nobody saw the need for decades to address this. What is more important, Priya, is the fact that Irfan Ali said, or is talking about one Guyana. Desmond Hoyt never talked about one Guyana. Cherry certainly never spoke about one Guyana. Don't expect Jagger to say anything about one Guyana. Donald Ramutara couldn't say much, more so anything but one Guyana. Sam Hines couldn't talk, period. Granger never spoke about one Guyana. So at the end of the day, Ali is the one who's talking about one Guyana. So if Ali is talking about one Guyana, why then could somebody with responsibility for education not say that we have got a problem to address? Because on our webpage, on the website, there is content that does not speak to one Guyana. Why? Why not? Why would you wait for decades and use that as an excuse? I could not believe it. I could not understand why in this age someone would seek to make Priya Manikchand such a lame and silly excuse for what was on the Ministry of Education website. Then she said that, and she actually commented on my personal page. That was fine, that was good, because many ministers wouldn't do that, or who sit as ministers wouldn't do that. So that's okay. At least she's seeking to interact with me at that level, though she didn't seek to interact with me in the right manner, but that's fine. But she said that, or she sought to say that this has been in existence for decades, and that it is not the content about blacks coming from West Africa is not in the new consolidated social studies curriculum. Listen to me carefully, please. It is not in the new consolidated curriculum that would be used. So I said to Priya Manikchand, and I will say to all of you, as one who dealt with curriculum delivery and curriculum development, worst person to come to me curriculum conversations, because you cannot throw the typical political sand in my eyes. And I'm sitting here on this straight up show, and I'm sitting here on 107.1 FM for all Guyanese to hear, all Guyanese parents to hear, all Guyanese students to hear, that you should not accept politicians seeking to throw nonsense in your faces, and you accept it. They owe us a direct apology. And I'll tell you why. There is no, in reference to education policy, I want to stretch it to say almost law. It's almost a legal concept. You cannot teach any subject without an active curriculum. Please, I am grateful that Mr. Ben Traub gave me this opportunity tonight to really speak to you from an education perspective, because it's important. We're not going to float around here and cannot present to you boldly as I'm doing what my qualifications are. Compared to Irfan Ali, who's yet to say, honestly speaking, this is what my qualifications really are. This is the university I attended. And that's not a slight against you either, it's just a fact. I am a trained grade 1, class 1 secondary school science teacher. Grade 1, class 1. In reference to content delivery, I received an award at graduation for being the best practical teacher in Guyana at that time who was being trained. All of this I'm saying for you to understand that when I speak to you from this perspective, this is not just some wannabe who's talking here. I never got an honorary award for being the best practical teacher. They assessed me and discovered that the manner in which I teach science was about the best for the crop of science teachers we had. All teachers actually who have been graduating in that session, or in that crop or batch. Then serving in content, in curriculum development. I am telling you, madam, that you should know better than this. You can never teach any subject in Guyana in the school without an active curriculum, meaning that you can't tell me that, as you tried to tell me, you shouldn't say that the curriculum that I referenced, that was just posted on the screen, that curriculum has not been used since October 2020. And that's an excuse. So here's my question for you. It was used up until, according to you, October 2020. So I asked you, and I'll ask you publicly here. So what was used after that? Because you have to have an active curriculum. You can never teach a child a subject in this country without a curriculum that is active. And I'm sounding like a preacher. I am. You can never have content delivery in Guyana without a curriculum to refer to. Don't you all send the DEOs and all these different people into schools to say, let me see the curriculum that you're working with. Let me see your scheme of work, which will be compared to or matched against the curriculum guide. That's what you do. So how, in this case with social studies, you've got a subject being taught without an active curriculum? Where is the active curriculum? Because you said, madam, that the new curriculum would not have it. Okay, so if it would not have it, it means something has it now. I am here taking time from a very long day, after a very long day, to ensure that education ministry gets it right, because you have got responsibility for all of this nation's children who are of school age. And I don't play with you when it comes to that, because I told the children at graduation that when I get old, they are responsible for me. I don't want ignorant people, and people who can already spell, read, and write, to be responsible for my future. I don't want a president in the future who can hardly pronounce 2 words. I don't want a president who can hardly speak, or who's monotonous, has a monotone and he's speaking all the time. They must understand how to speak. And this is not just about your finale. So we must get this right. There should never be, and I said to you, madam, I said tonight on radio, and I said on live on Facebook here, and any other social media platform, there should never have been, and you subject specialists, you DEOs, I'm talking to you, you should never have anything in your curriculum that speaks, and if the operator can, please put it on the screen if you have the chance to, blacks. How can you tell a primary school child that you were black and you came from West Africa? What's that supposed to mean? Marcel Hudson is of African descent. Olato Samu is a consultant, I think he is, or an advisor, whatever capacity you serve in. You are of African descent. And whoever furnished that stupid press statement in reference to my post, you owe us a direct apology. I'm not accepting no stupid statement from y'all. Oh, I forgot it was on radio. Sorry. But listen, I am on every wrong side when it comes to this matter. How can you tell me in a statement addressing what I said that this thing here has not been used since October of 2020? So it was used in 2019. It was used in June, in May of 2019. It was used in 2020. It was used when students were exposed to online teaching. It was used, and you said it would not be used in the new consolidated curriculum. It would not be mean that there's no curriculum now in service, as far as I'm aware, unless there is one, show it to me. And if there is one now, I'm saying you should not have been there in the old one. Because for you to speak to anything that's new, there has to have been something that's old. And if there's something that was old and it was on your webpage, you took it down the day when I said that this is unacceptable. Let's Guyanese hear the truth. You removed it from your website, as you said, Priya Manik-Chan. You removed it after I raised the issue. And then you said, I was going to pay to be Minister of Education. And this is not a personal attack against you. I'm just saying how I feel about the matter. And I may be slightly appeased with a proper apology from you all, to all Afro-Guyanese, because I don't know you, Priya, to be somebody based on with the hairstyle story. You are the only minister, I say this, and I mean it, it's a fact. You're the first and only minister I know who said, listen, we have a particular group of people in this country, especially those of African descent, who are being disenfranchised. So let's fix this hairstyle matter. I like that. And I told you, publicly I commend you for that, because you took the time to address what is factual. So let's go along that same vein right here. This black from West Africa story, you have to fix it. Not with some supposedly want to be, trying to be intellectual press statement, because that is garbage. To tell me, as a grown 48-year-old man, that something was there for decades as an explanation to my outcry is disingenuous and is disrespectful to me as a Guyanese. And it's disrespectful to every Guyanese of African descent and every Guyanese in general. You have to have, and I'm repeating this to help you all in education, you can never have content delivery without curriculum presence. You must have the curriculum before the children, before the teacher, as a matter of fact, and from that curriculum, the teacher then develops a scheme of work. Then they have their lesson plans and the rest of it. So don't tell me that you've got. Don't tell me that you've got a curriculum that would be used in the future, but you can't tell me what you have now. What are the teachers using now? That's what I want you to tell me. What did they use in 2021? What? Because last I checked, you're supposed to have the new consolidated curriculum. And people who are saying, don't blame Priya for this. Let me help you. When I was serving in curriculum development, we always had to pay people to review, to edit, to scrutinize in detail, then to print or to type, as a matter of fact, then they print, then we scrutinize again, then you have a one book, maybe publish a few of them, you send them to editors, and they go ahead and they scrutinize again in detail 3, 4, 5 times before the book is published. And if we discover an error, as I did it with grade 9, you pull it. I'm talking to you about millions of dollars already being spent. Watch what I'm saying to you carefully here. The minister goes to Parliament and the minister defends the budget. Priya, that's your job if you didn't know what you were supposed to do. So all of these developments and these things you're publishing on a daily basis, you have got to go to Parliament. Maybe you go with Marshall Hudson, you may call somebody from CPC and these things. You have your entourage, and you go and sit in Parliament and you defend why you want money for all these different projects to be had. So I'm asking you, now I don't want to sit it by will. I'm just asking a question. Is it a deliberate ploy whereby somebody just puts the wrong information out there, and then you have, of course, revision, and to revise any content, you have to have another set of money allocated? I would hate to think that's the case. I would not put that on you, Priya, or anyone in the education department. I'm not going to do that. All right? So I wouldn't take that risk. Honestly, I respect you beyond that. So it has to be the fact that persons are just lackadaisical. And the energy that should be invested in proper delivery of education to our children is actually lacking. I remember when I went to train certain teachers, when the team would go to train them, they'll be arguing that the textbook said this. That's what you have to come up against. This is what the textbook said. And they're saying that because in their view as teachers, the textbook is right. And we have to say to them, no, this is incorrect. This is inaccurate. This is not scientifically true. And they would then still argue what the textbook said. That's what you find, because some teachers are in a classroom, sadly so, and their only hope is a textbook. They're not that well read, they're not that well versed. So in their mind, they have a textbook, especially in the primary education system. They may be strong in science, but weak in social studies. So they take the social studies text and say, all right, then whatever the book says, that's what we teach. They may be strong in English language, but weak in math. So when they see multiples of 3, and you have 16, and that's another matter here, they will say, okay, then it's correct. Now, let me just take you here for a minute, then I go back to education in general, or the curriculum matter. Do you know that when I served as chief examiner and the assistant chief examiner, now this is important for you to take note of here. As a part, I don't know what you do now, but what we would do is we would take the corresponding textbooks for that examination. For example, when I served at grade 6 level, not very long, at the grade 6 science examination as chief examiner, then I left the country shortly thereafter. But what we would do when I was with grade 9, we'll take the science in the left textbook, we'll take the curriculum guide, we'll take the teacher's guide, we'll take all the material the teachers use to teach the children. This is a very critical part of this broadcast. Why do we do that in an examination marking center? Because in fairness to every Guyanese child, this was my argument. And Miss, I'm trying to remember her name. I'll remember it in a minute. What we did was, our argument was simple. If the textbook that we give to these children to use for these exam in preparation, if it's in the textbook, and we ask a question that should be based on that textbook, and that child responds to the question based on the textbook states, you have to give them the score as being correct. You have to. Do you see the point here, Priya Manik-chan? Why content delivery is so important and why we have to get things right on our webpage? You cannot tell a child or a parent that they should go to the ministry's webpage, education.gov.gy, and they'll find work in science, or they'll find work in mathematics or in social studies. And when the child responds to a question in an exam, based on what your ministry has put out there, you then say it's incorrect. For example, I posted today in science, your webpage, Priya Manik-chan, the webpage for your ministry that you're sitting into head, speaks to invertebrates having sense organs that help them to taste, to hear. What are we doing? To smell? To see? Does an earthworm see? I told you this since with COVID time, you know. When you started playing those things and said children could learn at home, I said, stop it, cut it off. And I'm thankful that you did. Because I heard somebody was reading, maybe, and said invertebrates have backbones. And I immediately went live and said, stop it. You should not have audited children. I banned my son from watching anything like that. Because you're not going to mess up his mind. So how can you have, at the grade 6 level, you wanted to write national grade 6 assessment, okay, and at that level you're telling our children, on your webpage, that invertebrates have sense organs that help them to see, taste, smell, hear, feel. Yes, they feel. But I'm asking you, when did an earthworm have ears? And you do not say that this is just a simple error. There's nothing called simple errors in education. That's one thing I'm here to help you with, and I promise you I'm going to call you privately to have a discussion, because we have to, this has to be right. This has to be right. This has to be righted. We cannot go on like this. This is, even my dogs agree with me, this is unacceptable. How can we tell a grade 6 child who's got responsibility to write a national examination? They're preparing for it, and as I said, we would carry the content in the exam into the marking center. And in the marking center, we're saying to the markers, whatever you see in this textbook, you can't give a child an incorrect grading. It's not the child's fault. Children do not write the curriculum. Children do not write textbooks. So how do you tell the child that they're wrong for saying invertebrates can hear? All invertebrates can hear. When the text that you present to them says that they can. We have got a significant responsibility. We've got a major responsibility in our hand. And as Guyanese parents, we must all unite. This is not a political program here in reference to a political party. It's a political program in the context that it speaks to the affairs of your country. If you know what politics is, you need to understand that. Politics speaks to how the people govern and how the affairs of the people are addressed. The affairs in education must be addressed. And since Priya Manikchand is being paid to function as a Minister of Education, then I will speak to you as that. Marcel Hudson, you have I told you before, when I speak about Et Caesar, I don't even want to mention your name. Because what Et Caesar represents, you do not. What is unfortunate that people are being paid? And the only explanation I have is that technicians are there in the Ministry of Education IT department, and they've just been paid to scan and upload, scan and upload. They don't do content review, which means that in your ministry, and I can say this one because I talked to you about this in private, in your ministry, there should be people who are vetting the content. Not just say it's good, it passed the test, it was printed, so it's fine. Every day somebody should be paid in your ministry, that's what should be happening, to vet the content. And since it's electronic, you correct it every day until you get it right. This is mandatory because our taxpayers' money is paying for it. Our money is paying for that. This has to be right. This has to be correct. This has to be addressed with passion that you sense from me right here, because I am extremely upset about what our children are being made exposed to. And I say again, when it comes to curriculum development and curriculum delivery, do not come to me with the flimsy, nonsensical excuses. You talk to somebody who don't know anything about curriculum development, who doesn't know anything, but do not speak to me about that. Do not come to me with this nonsense. Please. For one, you owe all Guyanese, especially those of African descent, a proper apology because you disrespected me in the curriculum. If you could address East Indians as coming from India, Chinese as coming from China, you had better address the fact that your curriculum spoke to Black people. The Blacks came from West Africa, and that has to be addressed. I don't take things lightly. Why is that important? Because a teacher in the school would stand before a grade 6 or grade 3 child, and they would tell that child in your school system, imagine that my son could sit in a class, or could have been sitting in a class, or my daughter could have been sitting in a class, and a teacher stand before them to say, okay, class, today we're going to learn about the origin of our foreparents and the origin of us as Guyanese people. And the Chinese in the class, and the Chinese says the Chinese came from China. Okay, so we have the Chinese child has the Chinese child has a chance to hear, okay, I can relate and my ethnicity to a place of origin. I'm Chinese, hence I came from China. The East Indian child was sitting in the class to hear that the East Indians came from India. And they say, okay, then, right, I'm East Indian, hence it has something to do with India as a country. Portuguese, the Europeans, you say they came from Madeira, which is a part of Portugal. Okay, then, right, so they came from there. The Amerindian child will hear, or the indigenous child will hear that they came from Asia and they traveled through that region. Again, they are having a sense of where they came from as in a geographic location. Then the little African boy, the little African girl, those of African descent, are going to hear the teacher say, and it may be an Indo-Guyanese teacher who's teaching the subject. So they hit this, a teacher now tells them the blacks came from West Africa. How does that sound to you, Priya? That warrants some fanciful press statement trying to sound impressive from your end? Or does it warrant an apology to us for decades, according to you, of disrespect? How does that sound to you? When it comes to the African descendant, the child is not told, like the Chinese, you came from China, like the Eastern, you came from India. No, you're black, and you came from West Africa. And you could not relate Priya to why I was so angry. You couldn't understand according to what you said. You don't know why I presented, why Pastor London said it the way he did, because it is upsetting. It was left on your webpage. And I don't have a problem with telling you all in education, that I'm not accepting any press statement, because this is beyond a press statement to try to explain away what should not have been there in the first place. And I call on every sensible Guyanese to issue an outcry, because this is unacceptable. The fact that African descendants, you are teachers in the school, and some of y'all allow this to happen, is a problem for me too. I never taught social studies, because I can promise you that if I saw that in any social studies curriculum decades ago, it would have been. What I do recall is my saying to all of you guys, do not address me as black, because I have a place of origin. And if you want to sell the one Guyana talk, let's talk right. Don't address me black. Our nation requires strong, courageous, dedicated men and women who are entirely prepared to deal with matters in a manner that doesn't have fear attached to it, and in a manner that doesn't present to us a hint of caution when it comes to speaking against the ills of all people. It would be unfortunate for Ghana to develop at the rate at which they're trying to sell this idea that we're developing so fast. And we're actually not developing as quickly as the PP is trying to say to us. But when they try to suggest to you that we're developing so quickly, the question becomes, At what rate are our children in schools developing? They are throwing billions of dollars all around the place. And every child in our school doesn't have a tablet. They do not have internet connectivity. Every school in this country does not have reliable internet service in every corner of the school. But Ali is talking about this country being developed and went to Washington to meet. I think he went to Washington. And the gaffe, the talk is that, well, okay, we're focusing not just on infrastructure, but we're focusing on education and healthcare. You are? Really? That's what you're doing? And in an oil-rich nation, you all talk about, you just withdrew another $46 billion. And every child in this country doesn't have internet access in their school. As simple as that. I'm not talking about a modem in the school. I'm speaking to the fact that every child in this nation should have access to internet facilities across the board. I don't even beyond the school. Wherever they go, you must establish hotspots in certain communities that are not properly served with internet facilities. If you want to talk about development, let me help you with development. Let me help you with proper and responsible behavior. Why have an education.gov.gy hyperlink and the child has nowhere or no way of accessing that link? Why put things on the web page so you can find it? When you're home in the holiday time, you can go on the web page and you can get some work done. How? While we at it, the nursery schools should be equipped. The nursery school should be equipped with tablets as well. You have oil money, the number you said. And the first administration, they're not the government would be the PPP Civic, APNU AFC, and the people of Guyana. All of us make up the government of this country because we should be governed democratically, although we're not. That's another story. The PPP Civic is called the administration of this country. And the administration of this country, you are the first to touch our natural resource fund in reference to oil. So you all withdraw the oil money. And you withdrew it faster than anybody can imagine. So don't suggest to me that Granger should have done it. Because PNC or APNU AFC never withdrew $1 from the natural resource fund. I told you all that is very stupid in the first place. I am still upset. I don't support PNC. I don't support APNU AFC. I don't support any one of y'all. So I could speak freely tonight. I said that from the beginning, Guyanese are in need. Why you've got people suffering and Jordan and all them couldn't say, well, we could at least borrow against what you have in the US Federal Reserve. Up until now, PPP supporters, APNU FC supporters, WPA supporters, none of you can say that you can genuinely, as across the board, the lower level ones I'm talking about, not the upper tier ones who are enjoying the benefits, the lower bracket of Guyana, economic bracket, you cannot tell me that you're experiencing any benefit from this oil money that you can relate to. Look at your roads in your communities. And Darnell has no shame to be posting pictures like a moron of narrow roads with no sidewalks. And he's proud to show you. We're building a dam. We're putting bitumen on a dam. That's essentially what they're doing. A little 10 or 9 feet wide road. And he's happy to show it. So where people gonna walk? When trucks are driving through those streets, where would our children walk? Did you think about that, Damlal? Sidewalks in Guyana seem to be a bad word. Some people don't even know what it is. The curb is not a good thing in Guyana anymore. And this has to do with education as well. Because we are teaching our children that substandard is the new standard in Guyana. So you're telling them we have oil. You tell them that we've discovered oil in such great quantities, and Ghana is supposed to be so wealthy. But you're teaching them that with all the wealth they're hearing about in their little communities when they look around, substandard is the order of the day. That's why we took their primary school children could be walking on the road where lorries with tons, tens of thousands of pounds of lumber and bauxite could be driving and forcing them off the road. And that jail could accept that. I am not here to talk about APNU AFC because APNU AFC never touched the oil money, which they should have done in the first place. WPA couldn't help you because they're not a significant branch of the APNU AFC arm. Let me talk about those of you who take the money now. What are you investing in our education? What are you investing in our children? How many communities in this country can you say, Priya Manik-chan, are hotspots or internet hubs for our children? How many places you could say that? Or do we have to have some political ally or a lackey or a crony, a friend of your party who is going to have the contract to import devices, and then you come and say, well, we're expanding the reach to our children, actually serving one of your cronies. Is that how we're going to do education in Guyana? Because I know the whole system. I've dealt with it. On the deal, it's not. I've dealt with contractors who were being paid to build science laboratories for SSRP program. And I was one who had to go into the field along with the other specialists to examine laboratories to say they're up to standard or they're not. And I've dealt with on the PP Civic since then. Contractors charging us SSRP, by extension taxpayers, for copper lines to run gas in the lab, the propane gas. And when I went into the school, that was North Georgetown Secondary, I think it was, or Dolphin. I think it was not one of those. Anyway, I've gone to the school and I said, okay, where's the gas line? What did Mr. Contractor tell me? It on here. So there's a wood covering it. I said, raise it up. No, we ain't got to raise it up. I said to him, raise this wood up now. Because if we don't sign off on the document, they don't get paid. And that's another good thing that was in place. At least I could commend you all for that. Because the World Bank had some serious standards set for paying any money. When he raised up the line, under the PP Civic administration, telling this happened. When he raised the line, the wood up, guess what? They had PVC pipe, and charging us for copper lines. The criminality didn't start now. And I said to him, get everyone. I said, you want to kill people? I told him you want to kill people, students and teachers in the school. You don't run gas through PVC pipe and charge for copper. That contractor tried to suggest to me that I know we could work something out. And when he said that, he saw my color change. And I said to him, I will ensure that you never get another contract. Ever. Work something out. You prepared to bribe me so that a child could light a match or whatever it is in this slum and blow up the whole school? That's the foolishness we have to live with in this country. Substandard. And I am not cautious about addressing it. So we will get it right. Madam Manik-chan, we will get it right. I close by informing you, yet again, Mr. Marcel Hudson, because your name is on every letter I see, a correspondence on the Ministry of Education. I am not accepting from you all any press statement that resembles the one that you put out there. We as Guyanese and as parents are not accepting that from you. In reference to the black skin from West Africa, you are not going to tell me that something that was in your website a few days ago is now pulled and that's the end of the matter. And you want to make it appear as if I was trying to be disingenuous. It's not happening. You owe all African Guyanese an apology because you left it on your webpage for too long. I'm calling on you parents to demand what is rightfully yours in your communities. Your children deserve to have internet access at schools, and they also deserve to have devices in their hands, tablets, that connect them directly to classrooms across this nation. I say without reservation that a child in Permakatoy, a child in Barima Waini, a child in the Kanuku Mountains, wherever they are, should be able to see what happens in a classroom in Georgetown and to have information that's equivalent to what's happening in Georgetown. That has been my argument for years, and it will continue to be my argument. Every child in this country must have equal access to educational facilities. Until then, you are discriminating against them. And I'll speak against you until you fix it. It has to be fixed. I thank you. And I'm certainly grateful for the time that we spent together. What is most comforting to me is the fact that most of you appear to have got the message clearly and understand the significance of education to our children. And that's refreshing. You also understand the importance of curriculum delivery and the content therein. And that is also refreshing. I do expect and look forward to having a meaningful conversation with Priya Manik-Chan, because my desire is for it to be better, not who's doing it. Let's just do it better. Let's get things right. Let's get the aesthetics of a school, the environment in which your children go to school. Let's get these things right. That is my desire. And as a Guyanese who pays taxes, I have every right to speak to the one who can have these things addressed. Hopefully, I can return to you with good news that Priya Manik-Chan and I had a sensible conversation and that we can see fruit thereafter. I thank you and appreciate your time. Do well until we meet again. Bye-bye. Goodbye. Thank you all. Bye. Thank you so much. Thank you.